Welcome back to the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. It is April 2nd. It is 2 a.m., 2:02 to be exact. We have a lot of wrestling that we have watched today. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can check out us talk about Zicky Dice's Outlandish Paradise 2, Trouble in Paradise, which was a Twitch exclusive. I caught some of GCW for the Culture. We watched some of Lone Star Shootout from New Japan. We watched Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, Impact Wrestling Multiverse of Matches, and we caught some of Joey Janela's Spring Break some of Joey Janela's Spring Break 6 Part 2. So lots of wrestling, and we still have 2 more days to go. So fun. But that's not what matters tonight. We're here to talk about specifically 2 shows. Ring of Honor's Supercard of Honor and Impact Wrestling's Multiverse of Matches. So we will be talking about that. It's me, I'm Pat, and I'm joined by the current Deep Six Wrestling Predictions Challenge champion, and that would be Ryan.
Yes, sir.
If you could hear that noise, it is a old toy belt.
No, it's not a toy.
WWE spinner belt that Ryan is upside down.
It is.
Champ was upside down.
Yeah, it is, but it is not a toy. This is the most prestigious predictions championship in the world. That's why we don't know. We've got 2 different people claiming that they own the real title.
Yeah. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the podcast wherever you're listening to. Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, TuneIn, Overcast, Breaker, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. Do that. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. We've been posting more of our podcasts over there. It's also some YouTube exclusive content, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd appreciate that as well. And follow us over on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling without the G. It's a very quick intro, so let's just jump into it because this is gonna a lot of wrestling to talk about.
Yeah.
Kicking things off with Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. This was the relaunch show for Ring of Honor that was always scheduled for Wrestlemania weekend, and then Tony Khan bought ROH and he decided to keep the show, so we got this show. Very shortly before the show went on the air, Tony Khan announced 4 matches for the pre-show, which is 0 hour. And they were Colt Cabana versus Blake Christian, Miranda Alize versus AQA, Eli Isom and Cheeseburger versus Tully Blanchard's new clients, and Dalton Castle versus Joe Hendry. So a pretty loaded pre-show. And we'll kick things off with Colt Cabana and Blake Christian, which is what the actual show kicked off with. Colt Cabana made his return to ROH here, coming out to his normal boom boom music and his old boom boom attire. Great reaction for him, and he embraced with Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni on commentary, who welcomed him back and said they missed him. Both men, I thought, were quite over with the crowd, even though it wasn't filled up at this point, but there were loud chants for Colt as well as the all-heart chants for Blake Christian. It was a short match, but Blake Christian went for a Fosbury flop early on. Cabana dodged, and then Blake ended up just getting slammed face first onto the ringside mats. And then back in the ring, Cabana ended up nailing Christian with an elbow in the corner. Christian went for some type of springboard maneuver, but got caught in the fireman carry position, and Colt slammed him down with the Chicago Skyline and won. So ROH legend Colt Cabana wins in his return match to Ring of Honor. I thought this was a fine little kickoff match. Nothing too special. Again, all of these were fairly short besides Hendry and Castle. But nice little thing. Blake Christian's really good, so I was happy he got a match here. And Colt Cabana's always good, so no complaints on this one.
Yeah, I agree. Blake Christian, the more Blake Christian, the better. Still don't know if he's just going to keep on in the indies, if he's going to sign somewhere. But everybody seems to be using him, so that's good. And it's good to see Colt again, because I feel like anytime we see him, he's either just at ringside, or he's in a big multi-man match, or he's on BTE as a pumpkin. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he did just come back recently after being in Australia. Yeah.
So, but yes, agreed. It is good to see Colt in a singles match. Yeah. Moving on, our women's match for the pre-show, Miranda versus AQA.
I didn't see this match because I was going to pick up Pat's dinner.
Yes. We ordered from a local Italian restaurant who forgot my calzone, so Ryan had to go pick it up.
Yeah.
solid little match here. I like Miranda. I saw her I didn't watch the Ring of Honor Women's Tournament. I did watch the finale of her versus Roxy, and then her versus Deanna, which I thought was pretty alright. Sacrifice, that was, right? Or No Surrender. It was one of the two. Whatever the last one was, right?
Yeah. Something.
Yeah, I think it was No Surrender, but I'm not 100% sure. Impact does a lot of shows. Yeah. But she's cool. She had a good look. We had some chain wrestling to start. AQA was in control at the beginning. She went for a series of quick pin attempts and then followed up with a duo of arm drags, then going for a running crossbody before Miranda ended up healing it up and just yanking her down to the mat with her hair. We had a corner forearm from Miranda, followed by a running boot and then a shotgun dropkick, all in quick succession for a 2 count. Then we had Miranda hit a really cool looking low Hurricane Rana through the bottom rope, not the middle rope, for a near fall. AQA fought back with a flurry of offense before getting cut off once again. And then we got a ripcord cutter from Miranda, who transitioned it into a crossface, which looked really nice. And AQA rolled her up for a 2 count before hitting a rewind enziguri and then climbing up to the top and nailing a shooting star press to pick up the win, and AQA won. Can't say I was too shocked here since AQA, just signed with AEW. Though, would have been cool to see Miranda win, but again, I don't really have too big of an opinion since this is the relaunch show, and it seems like this was kind of indicative of who's going to be showing up and who's not. I would like to see her show up again for a future Ring of Honor if they want to sign her, but I guess time will tell. But I think AQA looks very promising.
Yeah. Again, didn't watch this match, but based off of what Pat said, sounds cool. And yeah, I would agree that I do think it is indicative of who won is coming back, but also to some extent, I wouldn't be shocked if some of the losers would come back in the future.
There's only one loser on the show who I don't think will be back for at least a bit. We'll get there.
Okay.
But I think that one's a safe bet. Not because there's issues with him, but just it's Ninja Mac because he's going to Japan.
Yeah.
Which I think that's why he was given the match he was put in.
Yeah.
Which, again, perfectly fine.
That's fair.
After this, we got Eli Isom and Cheeseburger versus Tully Blanchard's other new clients. This was announced again right before the show. We knew he was going to have a mystery client on the main card taking on Ninja Mac, but this was announced as another surprise. So we now have Tully Blanchard Enterprises as a new faction that has been formed.
I like it. And
it was revealed that Kaun, Kaun, who has been appearing on AEW Dark and is a former ROH 6-man champion, and Toa Leona, who I don't really know much about, were revealed to be his newest trainees, and they are going by the name the Gates of Agony.
Fantastic name.
Yeah, when I saw the name, I originally thought it was the Authors of Pain, because it just felt like a name for them. But no, this is 2 new guys, and I think both of them have a really good look, and we now have the beefiest faction in the AEW ROH universe.
Yeah. Speaking of Authors of Pain, before we go any further, have you seen what they're doing now?
Aren't they doing NFT stuff?
Yeah, with Paul Ellering.
Good. That's sure. Why not?
Screw wrestling. Make NFTs.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't really have much to say about this match. This was just them murdering Eli Isom and Cheeseburger. We did get Tully Blanchard making a joke about Cheeseburger being a cheeseburger in paradise at ringside, which was peak Tully Blanchard.
I love Tully.
This ended when Toa Leona pounced Cheeseburger into the ropes. Khan hit a fireman's carry facebreaker, and then Toa Leona hit a Samoan spike, and they picked up the win. So, impressive debut for the Gates of Agony.
Yeah, I'm excited for them.
They've
got a cool name. They've got a really good look.
And they got a good manager.
Yeah, and Khan seems to be somebody who people recognize a bit, at least who followed Ring of Honor since he was part of Shane Taylor Productions.
Yeah, and since he's been appearing on AEW Dark, anytime he's on, I always see people saying they want him to get signed.
Yeah, so this kind of gets some traction. And commentary did mention that he's been appearing a lot of places, including Dark.
So, That sent us to our main event of the pre-show, which was Dalton Castle versus Joe Hendry, former partners and two of the bigger stars in Ring of Honor, I would argue.
Yeah.
Or two of the most recognizable names.
Yeah.
Both guys got pretty big reactions here, specifically Dalton Castle.
Even Joe Hendry, considering he was a heel, he did get a lot of cheers. And I didn't know he was a heel.
No, I didn't either.
I like him I've liked him for a while. He's a very unique individual.
Right off the bat, I think that both these guys should be kept.
Yes, 100%. I still think it would be silly to bring Joe Hendry from the UK because I'm pretty sure this is the only appearance he made this entire week.
He might be at WrestleCon doing signing.
Yeah, but to have him come out, do one match, and be like, hey,
no, I'd assume if anything, he could appear on Dark because again, ROH doesn't have shows right now.
That's fair.
And Tony.
Yeah, we still have spoiler alert. Tony did not give any update about TV or anything.
It just said that still negotiations are going on.
Yeah.
So, anyways, again, I would like to see both guys stick around.
Agreed. The more Dalton, the better.
Absolutely.
We've been saying that for a while.
I've been saying that since 2015.
Yeah. Ever since we saw him at the same time, basically, and I've been a fan as well, but you're a bigger fan.
Yeah. Joe Hendry refuses the Code of Honor before the match.
That's how he found out he was a heel.
Yeah. He immediately takes control, just thanks to how beefy he is compared to Dalton. Castle gets taken outside, and he has to get riled up by... they're not the boys anymore, to our surprise. They are the baby chickens.
Yeah.
They cheer him on, and then him and the baby chickens start running laps around the ring, starting slowly and then picking up speed as the crowd starts just going crazy for this. And then he gets back in and takes control. This is effectively Dalton Castle's Hulk up now.
Yeah.
Great
I'm
spot.
fine with.
Yeah, great spot. He got a big DDT and a standing body splash, and then transferred into a bunch of ground-based wrestling.
This crowd ate up everything that Dalton was doing.
Yeah, because he's great.
Also, before we go too far, during his entrance with the baby chickens, he had each of them kiss his hand. So I thought that was something.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Joe Hendry got nailed with a running knee strike on the apron from Dalton Castle. Castle then went for a running knee strike in the corner, and Joe Hendry ducked, and Castle just flew over the top rope down to the floor. That looked rough. And then Castle ended up landing a Hurricane Rana off the apron to the floor, and then sent Hendry into the ring post. Back in the ring, Castle hit back-to-back suplexes for a 2 count. And then eventually hit the Bangarang and picked up the win over his former tag team partner. I thought this was a really solid match for the pre-show.
Agreed. This was fantastic.
Yeah, this was a sign of things to come for the main show.
It also made me proud, or not proud, but made me very happy to see both these guys again because it's been quite some time.
A while.
Because I'm trying to remember, was Dalton on
Final Battle? I feel like he was, but I didn't watch Final Battle.
Okay.
I just caught some of it. I didn't actually watch the whole show.
That makes sense.
I think I tuned in over halfway into it. I remember tuning in and just catching the most bizarre segment where it was Jay Lethal cutting an extended promo about the Pure Division. It was very strange.
Okay.
Anyways, moving on to the main show, we kick things off with Alex Zayne versus Swerve Strickland. Obviously, Shane is signed to AEW. This kicked off with quite a bang here.
Yeah.
Swerve was massively over coming out of the gate. And the match started with both men attempting to outdo one another just with style points. Zane hit a really cool flipping move and then just landed into a lounge position on Swerve's back. We had Swerve go up onto the turnbuckle. Alex Zane went for a Hurricane Rana, but got caught before getting dropped onto the ring ropes and then sent to the floor. He had a pump kick from Swerve, and Strickland took control. Zane then took control with a big clothesline and followed up with a series of elbow strikes. And then Swerve got set up onto the top turnbuckle, and we had Alex Zane hit his jumping Rana and followed by a 430 knee strike, standing on his back, which is pretty cool. And then we had the most insane double spot in a row that probably this whole weekend has seen, where Swerve lifted Alex Zayne over the top rope. They traded some strikes on the apron, and then Alex Zayne hit a poison Rana off the apron onto the floor onto Strickland, and Strickland just looked like he fucking died. And then he sent him back into the ring, and he hit his Crunch Wrap Supreme immediately after this, and Swerve kicked out, which got a crazy reaction from the crowd. They traded headbutts in the ring.
A crazy reaction from us and commentary as well.
Yeah, this was nuts. Just like those two moves back to back was insanity.
Yeah.
They traded headbutts in the ring until Swerve managed to take Zane down all the way, and then picked him up, nailed him with a snap German, and followed it up with a rolling flatliner into the Swerve Stomp, which got a very big near fall as well. Swerve went for his jumping running kick. Zane dodged, and then he ended up nailing it on the second attempt. And Swerve hit a move called the JML Driver that I did not know was a move he did. I just thought the Swerve Stomp was his finish, and Swerve picked up the win in the opening match.
Made sense. Thought it was a fantastic way to open this show.
This was absolutely the right choice to open. This was great.
The more Swerve, the better. The more Alex Zayne, the better.
Yeah, I didn't mention it about his entrance, but Alex Zayne's now a pirate.
Yeah.
He's an eye patch with like some gold on it.
Yeah.
I guess he's watching Our Flag Means Death.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great show.
I haven't watched it yet.
I finished it. It's a good time. Taika Waititi is the GOAT.
Yeah.
Also, the guy that plays Elfo is in it.
Okay. Interesting.
As the Swede.
I haven't watched, so I don't know who that is.
No, he's a Swedish person.
I get that. I'm saying I don't know who that is.
Well, he's a Swedish person.
Thank you. Up next, Ninja Mac comes out, and he is taking on Tully Blanchard's newest client, and it is The Machine, Brian Cage. The report came out, I guess like a month or so ago, that Tony Khan had picked up Brian Cage's contract option, and that he would be back. And Brian Cage, obviously, in I guess now an infamous moment, took to Twitter and said, no, that wasn't the case, but here we are. So Brian Cage is back. He's now in Ring of Honor, and he's with Tully Blanchard. I think this is a very good move.
Yeah.
Immediately before the bell, Ninja Mac goes for the Sasuke special over the top and just gets wrecked by Cage. And in just an absolute insane moment in this very brief match, Brian Cage sends Ninja Mac from one side of the ring to the other with just an insane German suplex where he just launches him across the ring. Ninja Mac ended up getting sent into the corner. He did a springboard over Brian Cage with a corkscrew and went for his Robinson special, but that did not happen. Cage got him up for the drill claw, and Brian Cage won in what was effectively a squash match and is most likely Ninja Mac's big farewell from Ring of Honor before heading over to Pro Wrestling Noah. Mm-hmm. So there you go. But Brian Cage is back, and he's part of Tully Blanchard Productions, or Enterprises alongside the
Khan and
the Gates of Agony.
Yeah.
So that is your new faction.
I'm fine with it. They looked really good. Cage has somebody who's going to talk for him a lot, hopefully.
Yeah.
As long as Brian Cage is allowed to say "who better," that's all I care about.
Yeah, why not? He said it once.
Yep.
So
that's all. And he can say it forever.
After this, we went to Jay Lethal versus Lee Moriarty with Matt Sydal in Lee Moriarty's corners on crutches. Good reactions for both guys when they came out. Lethal got an especially good reaction as his welcome back to Ring of Honor. As expected, this had a lot of chain wrestling for the whole first half of this match. Pretty early on, Lethal went for both the lethal combination and the lethal injection, and both times Lee Moriarty got out of it and taunted Jay, which just Jay got very annoyed at and just looked pissed off. It was worth noting during this match, commentary pointed out that Sonjay Dutt was in the crowd, and they established that Sanjay Dutt is one of Jay Lethal's best friends
for over 20 years.
Yep. Eventually, Lethal was able to take control as he stopped going for chain wrestling and just started targeting Lee Moriarty's knees. Lethal went for his, in the words of Michael Cole, vintage trio of suicide dives where he hits the three back-to-back-to-back. He hit the first one. Lee tried to slide back in, but he hit a baseball slide. Then got caught with the second dive. Lethal goes for the third, and Lee slides in, nailing Lethal with a pump kick, and then he goes for his own but his knee gives out, and he ends up just turning around before he can go get the momentum off the other side of the ropes, and dives anyway and takes the sacrifice there, then selling on the floor. Lethal ends up continuing to target the knees back in the ring, and then lands the lethal combination for a 2 count. Loud "Let's go Lethal, let's go Lee" chants, both guys getting good reaction from the crowd. We had 2 super kicks followed by an enziguri and then a cutter from Lethal, and then Jay goes up to the top and attempts to get his elbow drop, but Lee catches him and rolls him up for several 2 counts in a row. The lethal injection gets blocked, and Lethal gets rolled up for another 2 count. Lethal repeatedly kicks Lee's leg, goes for the figure 4, and then gets rolled up again for a 2 count. This was this whole finale sequence here was really good, with Lethal just going for everything and Lee having a counter and rolling him up. And it looked like Lee was going to score a win here multiple times.
Yeah.
And while the ref got turned away after Lee had used the ring skirt to get out of the last hold, and the ref was putting it back in place, Jay Lethal, in an act of desperation, nails Lee Moriarty with a low blow and slams Lee Moriarty with the lethal injection, and Jay Lethal wins and turns heel. I thought this was a really effective heel turn, and I thought the match was also really good. These two have really good chemistry. It had a slow start, but by the end, this whole closing sequence was really good. So I was a big fan of this, and we got the payoff for Jay Lethal's storyline on AEW for the past couple weeks.
Yeah, I think that the bigger part of it, so they sold it like Jay was very upset with himself that he did this. He looked like he was about to cry that he did this. He was in the corner. He was rolling. He seemed very despondent about this. Finally, Matt Sydal gets in the ring and is very upset about this, and he starts to crutch himself over towards Lethal, and Lethal starts talking to him, and Matt gets more and more flustered and upset, and finally Jay just kicks out the crutches and just starts wailing on him before Sonjay Dutt jumps into the ring and separates them and seems to berate Jay, and they leave. Mm-hmm. So it seems like Sanjay's still producer Sanjay and playing his role. But yeah, this was really good, and it made it seem at first like Jay wasn't in control of his emotions. They let the emotions get the best of him, but clearly this was a really good heel turn. The best version of Jay Lethal is the heel version of Jay Lethal. Just give me the House of Truth.
Nope.
House of Truth Lethal is the best Jay Lethal.
Nope. What they shouldn't do with the new Ring of Honor is rehash old stuff. That's a waste of time.
It's the best version of them.
It's the one thing everybody hates on WWE for, besides casuals, is bringing out the nostalgia and just doing old stuff. This is a new company.
The House of Lethal.
No, you don't need it. There's a new company. Just do new stuff.
Lethal Truth.
No. Okay. This is why you don't book shows. The interim ROH Women's Championship match is up next. Deonna Purrazzo was not on this show because she was wrestling on the Multiverse of Matches, so they opted to crown an interim champion, which is fine since, again, they don't know when the next time they're going to have a show is and if Deonna will be able to do that one. So, makes sense, I guess.
Should have just been a non-launch contenders match.
It's whatever. Because what happens if Deonna gets injured, and then you would have to vacate the title and do this anyway. So it's fine. And again, as has been stated, we don't know if the next time they do a show if Deonna's free, and they're going to want her to drop the title. So Willow Nightingale takes on Mercedes Martinez to crown the interim champion. Willow had control early on. She nailed her standing senton on Mercedes. Mercedes went for a number of suplexes, then went for some type of submission move, with Willow blocking it by just dropping her weight. We had a duo of wristlock clotheslines from Willow, with Martinez dodging the third one and taking Willow down with a big boot. Martinez went for her Fisher Woman Buster, as commentary called it, with Willow getting out and nailing 2 thrust kicks, a big clothesline from Willow Nightingale. And the two then clashed in the center of the ring with a series of strikes. Willow just beating Mercedes in the face with just rapid forearm strikes before Mercedes hit her own clotheslines and nailed a Saito suplex. We had an air raid crash from Mercedes for the first big near fall of the match. I will say the crowd was pretty dead for it at this point. It wasn't until like halfway into the match where the crowd finally started reacting to stuff. Willow eventually fired the crowd up by nailing a pounce on Mercedes Martinez, which did look very impressive to see like a woman of Mercedes' size take a pounce and actually move from it, not just like fall over. Willow then pulled down her straps and went for her corner cannonball, similar to Kevin Owens. And Martinez got her hand on the rope to break the pin at 2. Willow went up to the top rope. Mercedes grabbed her foot to stop her, and she ended up nailing her with the OG drop for a 2 count. Willow unloaded with elbows in the corner and nailed Mercedes with a hip attack while she was in the Tree of Woe. Willow then went up to the top and nailed a moonsault. This looked brutal. This looked like this just like caught Mercedes right in the ribs, and like you could hear her breathing very heavily out of this. She definitely got like the wind knocked out of her for this 2 count.
Yeah, 100%.
And Mercedes ended up locking in the Brass City Sleeper, and Willow tapped out very quickly. And so Mercedes Martinez is the interim Ring of Honor Women's Champion. I thought this was a solid match. It was definitely the least good of the main card, but I still thought it was pretty solid. It just was much slower than everything else.
Yeah.
I thought their chemistry wasn't really there, but the big spots all looked good.
Yeah.
But something just didn't click between the two of them.
Yeah, it was very... I think also it kind of hurt that the first 2 matches were just so fast-paced.
Yes, 100%. Well, the first 3. Because, the Swerve and Zane, the squash.
Yeah.
So.
But... Yeah, I think this was still a good match. I like Willow from what I've seen of her.
Yeah, I like both of them.
The 3 matches now that I've seen of her. Mercedes, I've been a big fan of for quite some time. I think Mercedes is the right choice. It immediately establishes the title as something that, like, it's prestigious again.
Yeah.
With somebody who's very well known, has been in the business for over 20 years. So yeah, good stuff.
I think Willow will stick around.
Yeah, I hope so. Everybody seems very high on Willow.
Yeah.
And they've even been name dropping her on
Dynamite. Yeah, Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
So, up next in an instant classic tag team match, the Briscoe brothers faced off against FTR for the ROH World Tag Team Championship.
I'm going to say this. I think this was FTR's best tag team match since leaving WWE.
Yeah, I don't think it's close.
Yeah, this was fucking phenomenal.
I'd say this without a doubt, this is the best tag match since Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks from All Out last year.
I'd go even higher than that. This was
really good. I don't know. I'd have to.
I think this is up there to me with Omega and Page versus the Young Bucks.
That's probably fair. Again, I would also put Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers up there.
That's fine.
As expected, immediately out of the gates, the crowd is just booming for this.
Yeah.
Just loud "Dem Boys" and top guys chants, followed by a standing ovation before any of the wrestling had begun.
Yeah.
We start with Cash Wheeler and Mark Briscoe beginning with a lockup to a huge reaction, and then getting a "This is awesome" chant again immediately. Mm-hmm. And then we got tag team wrestling chants as soon as Dax and Jay tagged in. Caprice and Ian were both just like totally in awe of this crowd and the atmosphere, just noting how they had like goosebumps and just the chills they got from this. And again, this was
the best crowd you could ask for.
Yeah, they were into this whole show. Like again, like Willow and Mercedes had like quiet points, but like they still reacted to all the big spots, and for literally everything else on the show, even the pre-show, they were into everything. Yeah. So, props to this crowd for like not dying, especially coming after this match.
Yeah.
The fact that they had energy for the rest of the show was nuts. I will say they also structured the show very well, because after this we had a strong cool-down match.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. We had a big Hurricane Rana from Jay, which sent Dax over the top rope. This was after Dax had spat in the face of Jay Briscoe. And as Dax is out on the floor, he grabs a chair to try and distract the ref and tosses it into the ring. And miraculously, Paul Turner catches this chair out of midair and prevents this distraction from even happening. Harwood gets back in the ring and
he did get a cheer for that.
He did. It was impressive catch.
It was. I was impressed.
Harwood tags in Cash, and FTR take control. Just a bunch of double team maneuvers on Mark Briscoe. We have a chop battle between Dax and Mark in the middle of the ring, with Mark getting the better of Dax, just repeatedly sending him to the mat until Dax says he has enough and just punches Mark directly in the face. The Briscoes take control on the floor. We just have a big brawl breakout here. The crowd just blows up for this. In a move that I have not seen done this way before, FTR get Jay Briscoe by the legs and put him under the ring bell table and then slingshot him face first into the underside of the table, and Jay gets busted open pretty bad here.
Yeah, he did.
Dax then lays in punches to Jay and just gets his own fist covered in blood and shows it off to the crowd. Mark then comes into the ring and takes on FTR both at the same time, using his redneck kung fu and just making the weird noises that he does. And he manages to take out Cash Wheeler and gets a little one-on-one opportunity against Dax. He hit his iconoclasm move in the corner, which is kind of similar to like a blackout from Lance Archer.
Yeah.
Just
not as
no,
tall.
not yeah. But that got a big 2 count. FTR go for the spike pile driver for Mark Briscoe, but he dodges, and Dax ends up running himself into the post and out of the ring. Cash then gets caught by a punch from Jay, and they hit the redneck boogie on Cash for the first big 2 count of the match. The Briscoes go up top with Cash, but Cash sends Mark Briscoe to the floor. FTR go for the big rig, but Jay jumps and then gets caught into a powerbomb position by Dax Harwood. Whiplash powerbomb off the rope, followed by a frog splash from Cash Wheeler for the closest near fall I think I've ever seen.
This is really fucking close.
And like this looked like a near fall that like was like a botch, and then they showed the replay, and this like was so perfectly timed with like they got their shoulder up before the hand hit from Paul Turner.
Yeah.
Jay Briscoe gets back into. Oh, we had huge ROH chants here, and I forgot to mention, but FTR had the best tights on, where it just said FTR on the back, and it
was in the old Ring of Honor font.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Jay Briscoe then blocks the big rig once again, and the Briscoes hit their own big rig for another big near fall. Dash takes a huge brain buster from the ring to the floor, and they do a big injury spot here with all 4 guys down, and they slowly have to get back in. Cash has to help Dax back to the ring, and we have Fight Forever chants come in. Mark Briscoe hits a corkscrew dive to the floor to take out Cash Wheeler as it goes down to Dax and Jay in the ring. We have a strike fest between the two. Both guys fall to their knees, just crumbling with each blow, and the crowd just gives them another big ovation. A neck breaker from Jay Briscoe. Mark comes in with the froggy elbow drop for another near fall. And then out of nowhere, FTR gets the big rig, and the FTR win the ROH Tag Team Championships. So this would be the first of 2 losses for the Briscoe brothers on April 1st.
Yeah.
So this was just an absolutely incredible match. If you are for some reason listening to this review without watching the show,
Please go watch this.
This is must see. This will likely be the match of the weekend. I cannot imagine something topping this.
Yeah, this was the best tag match possible. This match lived up to the hype that has been building for several months.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Like even before they showed up at Final Battle to confront the Briscoes, there's already the talk of people wanting this match. And yeah, they delivered in spades. This is a reminder of just how good the Briscoes are, and it's also a reminder of how good FTR is. But we weren't done with the surprises after this match because
post-match, we had the Briscoes and FTR sharing a moment with FTR bowing to them. And then as FTR goes and heads to the back and the Briscoes get an ovation from the crowd as the crowd chants, "Thank you, Briscoes," you hear a loud reaction from the crowd, and from behind the Young Bucks rush in and take out the Briscoes, and FTR then come down to make the save. Dax then puts over the Briscoes as the greatest tag team of all time.
Yep.
And the Young Bucks then put themselves over by saying that they're the guys who quit ROH and built a new company and then bought ROH. And they announce that we are going to have the Young Bucks versus FTR 2 on AEW Dynamite. Free television.
Yep.
And more stakes were added to this later in the night as it was announced that not only would these be for the AAA Tag Team titles, but they would also be for the ROH World Tag Team Championship. So, once again, on free television, we are getting the Young Bucks versus FTR 2, probably one of the most anticipated tag team rematches.
Yeah.
And it's going to be for 2 sets of titles, and there's a very good chance the Young Bucks win this to set up a 3-way between the Briscoes, FTR, and the Young Bucks, which could go down as another
instant classic.
Yeah, so very exciting stuff coming out of this one.
Yeah. I do have to say, there's going to be if the Young Bucks win, there's going to be a lot of people upset, just because it'll be 2-0 Young Bucks over FTR.
I think some people will be upset, but I think a lot of people will understand why it's happening.
Yeah.
And you also have FTR who are going babyface. They can take a loss after being like the top heels in the tag team division.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay if the Young Bucks like cheat to win.
Yeah. It would just be it would be people, me included, that think that they shouldn't have won at least the first one as soon as they did, just because it killed FTR's momentum for so long.
It's fine. FTR's recovered.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not going to say that they shouldn't do this because of something they did 2 years ago.
No. It would just be
because how else do you don't get to the 3-way if the Bucks don't win?
I mean, you can,
but it wouldn't make sense because this isn't the AEW title, so you're not going to do it for the rankings.
No.
So you need them to pin either the Briscoes or FTR, and the Briscoes shouldn't take another loss.
Yeah, well. Does FTR really need to take another loss?
Again, if you want to do this match, you have to pin FTR because the Bucks don't have a claim to either title. Or
just have a non-finish for this match.
But there's no reason to. You're turning them face. You can get sympathy on them by having the Bucks cheat to win. Yeah. It makes booking sense.
I don't know.
Also, FTR is not going to get hurt.
I mean, if they don't win back the titles, yes, they would be hurt. If they lose both their sets of titles and then don't win either of them back, yes.
Nobody said they're not going to win them back.
But then what was the point of the title change? Just to have a match that people like?
Yeah, probably. I mean, these belts are not really prestigious belts right now. ROH doesn't have a show, and AAA doesn't care about tag team wrestling.
I mean, clearly, AAA does when their entire Triple Mania card is tag team wrestling.
Yeah, they don't care about their tag team titles. Yeah. There's a reason why FTR just literally slaps stickers on their belt. Like, they're not prestigious championships. And again, FTR is going face. They're going to be out of the Pinnacle. Having the Young Bucks cheat to win, it is perfectly fine. This sends us into our ROH World Television Championship match with Rhett Titus of the Foundation taking on Minoru Suzuki, with Suzuki getting a great reaction here, as expected. Titus controlled pretty much all of this match, just beating up Suzuki until the end of this, when Suzuki went for the Gotch-style pile driver. It got blocked. Titus hit his signature dropkick, as commentary called it, for a 2 count. And then Suzuki went for the sleeper, but ended up just putting Titus in the Gotch pile driver, and he pinned him. Minoru Suzuki has won his first American Championship and is now the ROH Television Champion.
I do have to say that his pinning was great. He just kind of sat on him.
Yeah.
This was the best, I mean, considering the last time I saw Rhett Titus was him with Kenny King in the All Night Express. And I was just like, oh, who the fuck is this guy? I thought Rhett Titus was much older. He looks much older than he actually is. He's 34 years old. And commentary talked about how he's still got years and years ahead of him.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, nothing he did in this match was like jaw dropping. Like, holy shit, this guy's a huge deal.
He was just there.
Yeah.
But again, this was a needed match. It was just a cool down match. It wasn't too long.
However, the crowd was really hot again for this match, just for Suzuki.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Rhett Titus from New Jersey, and also for his really dope mask.
Yeah. After this, we got our Pure Championship match. Josh Woods took on Wheeler Yuta. Josh Woods also representing the Foundation.
Yep.
I think this is the first proper Pure Championship match I've watched. Because I didn't watch the Pure Championship match between Macklin and Gresham.
Okay.
So, anyway, or not Pure, there's just Pure rules.
Yeah.
So, rules for the Pure Championship is just that that's just the rope break rules special, right?
They showed like 10 rules beforehand.
Fuck me. Oh, yeah, wasn't there something about like a time limit?
So it's a 60-minute time limit. And that goes to a draw, then there's 3 judges who are awarding points for takedowns, submissions.
And it was
they revealed that it was Christopher Daniels, B.J. Whitmer, and Colt Cabana. And the reason that they chose them was they all have significant history in Ring of Honor.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And they'll, again, work for AEW, so.
Yeah. Also, they talked about, so each person has 3 rope breaks you can do.
Yep.
If you use all 3 of them, then you can use the ropes for submissions, pins, all that stuff. As long as you're holding on, like if your opponent is holding them, but their shoulders are down, you can be pinned. If you've got a submission locked in and they're holding on to them, you can get pinned. If you're doing a holding onto the ropes, you can win. It seemed like they were talking about. Again, the Pure title, it's not everybody's cup of tea. I thoroughly enjoy it. Some of the other rules are you cannot use closed fists. That can be considered a disqualification.
Okay.
Wrestlers still in with the 20 count. And yeah, you get 1 warning before getting a disqualification.
Okay. So again, it's Josh Woods versus Wheeler Yuta. Yuta's been on the up and up in AEW recently and has been trying to impress William Regal and the Blackpool Combat Club. It was announced on Twitter that William Regal would be watching this match. He was not there because, as we found out from watching on Fight TV, he was at another event that most likely got him held up.
Yeah.
It was the Thuzio Super Show. Whatever that is.
Yeah, with Jeff Hart. It's like a bunch of podcasts from what I saw.
Okay.
It was like Conrad Thompson's podcast network, and they were just interviewing people like Jeff Hardy, William Regal, and a few different other people, Jeff Jarrett, and others.
So I'd assume we'll just...
And that was at WrestleCon, I believe, which we've established was 30 minutes away, which is why I thought it would be difficult for Deanna to even get there, but clearly it wasn't because the Briscoes were able to get there.
Yeah. But so I would assume we'll get a follow-up with Wheeler and Regal on Dynamite this week.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Or, well, Dynamite's pretty loaded, so maybe Rampage, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of the Dynamite card announced tonight.
Yeah. But we also have a lot of matches that aren't announced. Like, we know that there's at least one women's qualifier and at least one men's qualifier, but we don't know either of those.
Yeah, but again, so that's 2 other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, to kick things off, the 2 men just trade some arm drags to start until Woods gets him into a knee bar, and Yuta, basically within the first few moments of this match, has to use his first rope break to basically, I guess, just establish the rules of this. Yuta attempts to get Woods down, with Woods just trying to outpower him as the 2 continue trading holds in the ring. Woods, in a really impressive spot here that I was a fan of, he just like uses his own legs to spread Wheeler Yuta's legs apart and just gets him in like a sitting split position that got Wheeler to give up control.
Yeah.
I like
also,
that.
should point out that commentary talked about when Yuta grabbed the ropes real early, that of the people who have been in the Pure division, Josh Woods has the quickest average time for somebody giving up all 3 rope breaks in the history of the Pure division.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which I don't know if that's only counting since they've reestablished it, or if they're counting when it was like Danielson, Nigel, the goats of the Pure division.
I don't know. Yuta then used his second rope break here. So again, just the first few moments of this match, he had already used his first two.
Which is very similar to the other match I've seen with Josh Woods in from Final Battle, where I don't remember who he was facing, but he made him use all three within 4 minutes.
Okay. Josh Woods then tries to goad Yuta into giving him a handshake, and Yuta, similar to how William Regal slapped him, just slaps Josh Woods across the face before nailing him with a drop kick, and then takes control, getting Woods in a cloverleaf and just nailing him with some forearms, and then just branching back while still locked into the cloverleaf with a bridge, and Woods has to go for his first rope break, which got a pretty good reaction here. The two traded some chops. Woods then sent Yuta into the corner as Yuta tries to jump, but Woods grabs his arm as he's jumping in the air and then slams it down onto the ropes, taking control again. Wheeler goes up and goes for a diving elbow strike, and then a suicide dive to the outside. And then back in the ring, Yuta goes up to the top and goes for some type of dive, and Woods catches him in midair with a knee strike for a 2 count. Woods then drapes Yuta on the middle rope, hits him in the back with a elbow strike and then a knee and then a snap German off of the ropes, which looked really nice. Yuta came back with his own German, keeping Woods locked up as Josh tried to break out, and then nailed Yuta with a spiral suplex into the turnbuckle. That looked brutal. And Wheeler has to use his final rope break here. Woods then looks for a pile driver, and Wheeler gets out, nailing Woods with a series of elbows and then puts him in a cradle, and Wheeler Yuta basically steals the win here and is the new ROH Pure Champion. So, yeah, Wheeler Yuta is a champion.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of this. I kind of was expecting Josh Woods to win here just because he has been appearing on Dark.
Yeah.
But I'm not, totally upset with this because, again, it makes sense for AEW since, again, we don't know when the next ROH show is. So this was... Anytime there was an AEW person here, it was pretty clear that they were going to most likely get the win just because...
They can continue it.
Yeah. And this was something that you could very clearly do where Wheeler won a singles title and now he can get the approval of William Regal. And most likely can join the BCC.
Yeah.
So, exciting stuff. I thought this was a really nice match. And I would like to see... Josh Woods is another guy coming out of this. I would like to see him back in ROH.
Yeah. I'm not too familiar with Josh Woods other than the 2 matches I've seen with him. The only other stuff I've ever seen of him was on social media, because I still followed Ring of Honor even when I wasn't able to watch it. And he was partnered up with Silas Young.
Okay, I can see that.
The whole thing was Silas wanted him to cheat to win and all this stuff, and Josh was no. He was doing. He was pretty good comedy guy.
Yeah.
And. They had some very good sketches that they did of Silas Young being the last real man, who would be no, you're doing this wrong, all this stuff, and not wanting Josh Woods. He didn't want to be Josh Woods' partner to begin with, and they kept on tagging all the time. So yeah, then I stopped following Ring of Honor and stopped following social media a lot, and. Then I came back and I was oh man, he's part of the foundation. That's cool, and he seemed to be a big deal. So
yeah,
cool stuff. Hopefully he gets signed to something.
Yeah, I would like that.
Just not signed to the other place he's been showing up at.
Oh yeah,
Controlling Narrative.
Yeah.
Although I do know a lot of people who whenever they see Josh Woods' match, whenever Tony was hyping up this match, they're just oh, he looks like one of those Control Your Narrative guys. And it's he does, but
I wonder if he was working the dark match.
He might. Who knows? Maybe he's EC3 Skip.
Maybe. Again, the fact that it's still so hard to find the results from that show should tell you everything you need to know about Control Your Narrative.
Yeah.
This sent us to our main... Oh, well, real quick, let me just go over the Dynamite lineup because they ran down this before. The only things announced that were changed were the ROH and AAA tag team title match between the Young Bucks and FTR.
Christian Cage versus Adam Cole.
That sounds very good.
Yeah. Again, free TV.
Yeah, and then the Butcher and the Blade versus the Hardy Brothers.
And a tables match, which has already been announced.
Oh, okay, that was.
Yeah, that was announced last week.
Okay, and then the 2 qualifying matches.
Yeah,
and then
or at least 2.
Yeah,
could be more since there's multiple men's matches a week.
That's true. And then we got something else announced.
And that could be why they started the men's bracket, their qualifiers later than the women's.
That makes sense. And then we got something else announced, but we'll get to that after this.
Yes.
So Jonathan Gresham versus Bandido to crown the undisputed ROH World Champion here.
Bandido with
Chavo Guerrero, and Bandido had a really cool outfit here. Zorro, all black.
Oh, I love this.
This was a really nice entrance. And before we go into this, I'll save it for the end. But before the match, Chavo tells Bandido not to go for the Code of Honor, but Bandido does end up going for it to start the match, much to the chagrin of Chavo Guerrero Jr. We have dueling chants for Bandido and Gresham to start here. Gresham goes up top and lands on Bandido's shoulders and lands a Mexican takedown, as commentary called it. Before just having a flurry of offense against Bandido here. Bandido goes for a handspring, Gresham dodges, and Bandido nails a Hurricane Rana and a dropkick, taking control. Gresham sweeps out Bandido's leg on the apron and nails him with his own dropkick, sending him to the floor. Bandido locks in a surfboard on Gresham, who gets out of it by just sitting down, and then locks in a crossface, transitioning it into an ankle lock. And again, Jonathan Gresham is just so smooth technically, and I cannot wait to see him versus Bryan Danielson at some point, because that's going to be fantastic. Mm-hmm. Bandido hits a huge corkscrew springboard crossbody and then rolls through with, again, one of the most impressive spots of the match with a deadlift on Jonathan Gresham into the vertical suplex position, and he counts for the crowd for a bit, and then the crowd joins in, and he holds him in the deadlift vertical suplex position for an entire minute.
Yeah.
And then just drops him as soon as the crowd says 60, which got a huge pop. This was really cool.
Fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. Bandido goes out to the floor. Gresham goes for a dive, and Chavo pushes Bandido out of the way. And Bandido gets very upset with Chavo here. Back in the ring.
Also, commentary questions if, what's his name? Chavo had tripped Gresham.
Yeah.
And that's why they thought that Bandido was so upset.
Bandido gets Gresham back in the ring and hits a big Shining Wizard for a near fall. Gresham hits a sunset flip for a 2 count, and then just a series of other roll-ups on Bandido with a ref bump, and Chavo just pegs the ROH Championship into Gresham's face, and Bandido ends up in a somewhat surprising moment, but really, again, I thought it built up Bandido as like a baby face here.
Yeah.
Gets the ref to eject Chavo on his own behalf. And then, again, the last few minutes of this just goes crazy. Bandido hits a pop-up cutter for a crazy close 2 count. Gresham pulls out like a cover with a bridge for a 2 count. Bandido goes and hits a Fosbury flop over the top rope, and then something called the X-knee, and then goes for the 21 plex, which looked nuts, and got a near fall. And then Bandido nailed Gresham with a series of super kicks. Gresham then hit a springboard moonsault and a quick suicide dive to the floor, a springboard arm drag, and then rolled through and cradled Bandido and retained or became the undisputed ROH World Champion here.
Bigger point on the 21 plex, commentary says this is the first time anyone has ever kicked out.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Also, commentary talked about how Bandido was doing, or some of the stuff that he was doing was very similar to the stuff that many people might be familiar with from him at the MSG G1 Supercard. And I asked Pat, what match was he in?
Did you end up finding out?
Pat said, oh, maybe he was in a pre-show match or something. Bandido was in a triple threat between Dragon Lee, Taiji Ishimori, and Bandido for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship.
I don't remember that.
That is how much of this show nobody remembers.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, that was right after the New York City street fight, featuring Flip Gordon, Juice Robinson, and Mark Haskins defeating Silas Young, Shane Taylor, and Bully Ray.
Okay.
And right before, Guerrillas of Destiny defeating PCO and Brody King, Evil and Sonata, and the Briscoes for the tag titles, the unified tag titles.
Yeah. Okay.
and of course, everybody's favorite spot from that.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought this was a great main event to cap off just a fantastic show. And what I was going to say at the beginning of this is, so we all questioned, I think, Chavo Guerrero's inclusion in this. So obviously we knew that there was some drama going on with Chavo Guerrero in AEW.
Yeah.
Where he thought he had possibly been released because he didn't get a call to come back. And then at Revolution in the media scrum, Tony was asked about it, and he said it was blown out of proportion that he was going to call Chavo. We didn't get any follow-up on it since.
Yeah.
And then just a few days ago, it was announced that Chavo Guerrero was going to be a part of this show and that he would be in Bandido's corner.
Yeah.
And so clearly, whatever issue there was, or lack of an issue, was worked out, and Chavo Guerrero is still involved with AEW and Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was used in this way on this show, I think adding him to Bandido's corner did a lot to add to the drama of this match, because I think a lot of people assumed that Gresham was going to win no matter what. So adding Chavo here did add a level of Bandido might win.
Yeah.
And then doing the angle midway through the match where Chavo cheats and Bandido gets him thrown out on his own, I think also adds interest into this, because so coming out of the show, it seems very clear Gresham's sticking around because he's champion.
Yeah.
And we also knew from a few weeks ago that he had signed on, according to Fightful, no regards to what exactly. But I would assume Bandido's going to stick around as well, coming out of this match, because it just feels like there's something going on here with him and Chavo Guerrero. And I'd assume Chavo's going to play a bigger role in Ring of Honor.
Yeah. Because
it just feels very weird that they would do such a big angle in this match where Chavo was trying to cheat so much and Bandido was no, and then Chavo got thrown out.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Because I asked you during this show, where do you think Roosh comes back?
Oh, okay.
Could you see him come back with somebody who, isn't afraid of playing against the rules like Roosh?
Yeah, that'd be interesting. No, I don't want Andrade.
No, I was going to say, he already had, Roosh had his own faction of people.
Yeah.
He had Dragon Lee, who I don't know if he really talked.
I don't know.
He had Kenny King, who doesn't need a talker, but he's in Impact. And
his dad.
Yeah, there's somebody else, I think.
Maybe.
I thought it was a 4-person group.
That was 4 people. Roosh, his dad, Dragon Lee, and Kenny King.
Oh, okay. I thought there was a tag team, is what I meant, because Dad wasn't wrestling, I don't think.
Yeah, he was.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyways, yeah, sure. I don't know what the future holds for this, but I'm assuming Chavo Guerrero is going to do something in Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Because it just felt like this was a big setup for a future thing.
Yeah.
And then we go to the post-match here. Jonathan Gresham gets on the mic and gets a good reaction from the crowd here, and he says that he wanted to make ROH pure, and before he can go any further, Jay Lethal comes out and tells him to hold up. He wants to send the crowd home happy, and Lethal wants to help him do that. And Lethal says that he should be the first man to challenge Gresham for the Ring of Honor World title. Lethal says that nobody would know who Gresham is without him, and the two get into it. Sanjay Dutt comes out to have to break them apart, and then Sanjay Dutt lays out Jonathan Gresham before Lethal joins in for a beatdown here. Lee Moriarty runs down to make the save, but Dutt and Lethal take him out as well, still selling his knee. And then we have this music hit, and we have former ROH World Champion and former ROH legend, former NXT Champion, former WWE United States Champion, Samoa Joe returns to Ring of Honor and steps up to Jay Lethal. This was a great finale moment.
His theme sounds so much similar to his WWE theme, so it was very easy to tell, but people were very confused originally, and I was like, it's got to be Joe.
Oh, these people have been watching a lot of wrestling and possibly
that's
were
fair.
drinking.
That's fair.
But yeah, Samoa Joe steps up against Jay Lethal, and Lethal gets out of the ring, and Joe grabs Sanjay and puts him in the coquina clutch, or the rear naked choke, and literally within seconds, Sanjay Dutt just dies and just falls out to the floor, just selling that he's already asleep. And Gresham and Samoa Joe shake hands to end the show, and it's announced that Samoa Joe will be on AEW Dynamite this week. And after the show was over, Tony Khan put out the tweet that Samoa Joe is all elite. So my assumption here is that people that are going to be like signed, I guess, are still going to be signed to AEW contracts.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that we didn't get like a Jonathan Gresham as all elite.
Yeah. I think maybe it's because he has other dates still
That's
to work.
Probably fair.
Like he has Rebellion.
Yeah.
He's got his Progress World title, and I'm sure he has I'm pretty sure they announced a bunch of shows this week. So maybe he's got to fill those too. But yeah. Apparently the Ingobernable group that they have is still active in AAA. The other person was Amy Rose, who became Max the Impaler's manager after leaving the group.
Sure.
But it is currently Roosh, his father, and Dralistico, and Dragon Lee.
Okay.
And apparently during this time also Cross and Scarlett were part of it as well before coming to WWE.
Okay.
So maybe they'll come back.
Maybe again. So
they need a talker.
Well, Tony Khan mentioned on. Well, no, Scarlett's the talker.
Yeah, that's fair.
Tony Khan was asked about them during the media scrum and said that he likes both of them, but it wasn't in the cards for them.
And they weren't actually booked originally.
Yeah. So, anyways, I thought this was a phenomenal show. It's going to be very hard to top this for any show.
Yeah.
This entire weekend. By far, this is the best show I've watched so far.
Agreed.
It's not even close. This was just fantastic from top to bottom.
Yeah, there wasn't really a bad match on this card.
No.
And like we said, like the lowest or the least good match that we said
Willow
was
and Mercedes.
And that was still pretty good.
Yeah. So Ring of Honor's alive.
Yeah. It continues the trend of AEW. Or Tony Khan booked shows.
They don't his big the pay-per-views literally I can think of one show that disappointed, and it was All Out 2020. It was the one that had the Matt Hardy Sammy Guevara match.
Yeah.
Where Matt Hardy died.
Yeah. I was gonna say I feel like people didn't like the first Fyter Fest.
But that wasn't even a pay-per-view, really.
No.
It was a YouTube exclusive thing.
Yeah.
But you look at just the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
They don't
miss. They
don't
miss. No.
It's incredible the run they've had.
Yeah.
So people can say whatever they want about AEW if it's your thing or not, but it's pretty undeniable that their big shows they always knock it out of the park.
Agreed.
So yeah, thumbs up all around from me. Again, match of the show for me would be Briscoes versus FTR, probably followed by Gresham and Bandido.
Agreed.
So yeah, that's Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor. So